Welcome to Season 5 of the Funding Love Adoption Podcast with Mal and Kate. We are two adoptive moms that seek to love, support, and elevate all corners of the adoption triad through honest conversation. This season, we are continuing through our series of walking through the adoption journey step by step by sharing stories, tips, and advice we have learned along the way. So pull up a chair and sip your favorite beverage because everyone has a seat at our table. We are Funding Love, the podcast. Hi, Funding Love family. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Funding Love podcast. But before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to remind you and personally invite you to the 3rd annual fundraising gala, A Night of Dreams. Let's just say that this year's event is going to be, well, the greatest show. It is going to have a silent and live auction, full-plated dinner, amazing programming, and a VIP cocktail hour for our VIP guests. It's going to take place on April 25th at the Four Seasons Resort Orlando, and we hope to see you there. For more information, visit our website at fundinglove.com/Night of Dreams. Now let's get back to the show.
Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of season 5 of the Funding Love Adoption Podcast with Mel and Kate.
Welcome.
Here we are, episode 6. And to be honest with you, this episode is kind of a bit of a wrap on this middle section. We have a couple stories that we're going to tell to kind of close off our season that will be in the next episodes. But this is kind of closing up our conversation of that middle part of the journey of adoption, and that's going to be supporting birth moms.
That's right.
And I guess this is more than just the middle, because you can support birth moms from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. But I think there are some crucial moments here, and we've kind of already touched on them in other episodes of why it's so important and when it's so important and how to do that. Mm-hmm. In authentic ways.
Yeah, I think that we acknowledge that season 4 and season 5 have really been focused on equipping and helping those on the adoptive parent side, those walking through the process. But we can't ever overstate our love and support for biological families and especially biological mothers. Some people call them birth moms. Some people call them first moms. But we just wanted to wrap up another episode with going through each phase of how you can support an expectant mama, a birth mom, mm-hmm. and especially in that you've taken, your new baby home, what can we do to support birth moms? So let's just go and touch on a little bit you've started your adoption journey. You don't even know an expectant mom. How can you already be supporting your future birth mom?
I mean, I think it's as simple as truly praying for her, mm-hmm. praying for your future child, mm-hmm. praying for whoever that birth mom is or expectant mom or whoever that baby is that the Lord is already protecting them and guiding them and giving them peace and direction in their story. Mm-hmm. Because I remember feeling this weird feeling of when we were started the journey where I was like, gosh, my child could already exist. Yeah. She could already be in her mother's womb, and her mother could already be contemplating this decision months before we even knew of her or anything. So I remember having that feeling of gosh, she could be out there, and feeling connection to something, I don't know, or just the need to pray for something mm-hmm. or somebody. And so you can pray, honestly, just do that and journal it. And I think that helped me also process as I journaled that, mm-hmm. helped me kind of keep my heart in the right spot and good posture as well.
Right. Keep your perspective. Because again, we're not praying, oh, please let her make an adoption plan. Please let her choose me. We don't mean that at all. We mean she's probably feeling very scared right now. Can you please comfort her? She might be feeling alone. Can you send someone to her today to remind her that she's not alone? Those little prayers that she doesn't even know that you're praying over her because you don't even know her name. But guess what? God does.
Protect that baby through that too, and the feelings that, there's so much you can pray for. And then after, I remember every profile, every expectant mom that we presented to, I wrote their name down and I prayed for them. And through that whole year, even though after we've got the no or that she had chosen another family, I still had all of their names listed in my little journal and kind of go back and even just real quick by name, cover them in prayer. And I'm just praying that they, have peace and comfort and guide them or whatever, that sort of thing. And that it was kind of just to keep me connected to the process, but also to really I don't know, I was invested. You're
Yes.
invested, and you want this to be so authentic and real and not forced in the will of the Lord, all of those things. So there's so much of that um, staying connected in prayer just allows you, like we were just saying, to do that.
Yes.
But after I'm sure you do the same thing, but after when you presented, you had that expectant mama in your head, and sometimes you get pictures, sometimes you don't. And if you get a picture, especially, then you can you visualize her and you visualize the baby and all of that, and that becomes even more of like a real like personal prayer
Yes.
because you have all of that. And so and then if there's health issues of the baby or health issues of the mama, you can pray through those things too.
Yes.
But that's how you can support expectant mama right away.
And
Yeah.
I think kind of a not sideways, but a subtle way to support birth moms is to choose an ethical adoption agency. Go back and listen to our episode about how to choose an ethical adoption agency or consultant to work with. Because if you're wanting to support birth moms and you're wanting to support expectant moms, then work with people who are
Yes.
supporting them. I think that's super important, and kind of a subtle way that you're supporting them, even if you don't know specifically who they are.
Yeah, because you're giving them their perspective the weight it deserves, and
Correct.
having an agency who sees them as the valuable part of this story. Yeah.
And so then circling back to once you've been matched and you're in the hospital, now, like you said, you have a specific face to pray for, maybe a specific name, even if it's just a first name or a letter of a name. Giving attention to that, I think that also supporting them, like we said during the episode on the hospital, giving them that space, giving them respect, acknowledging that baby is their baby until they make that final decision.
Even as simple as calling them mama, like calling them mom in the
I love
hospital,
that.
like, as they're holding you, like, you're such a beautiful mom, or, I don't know, something that is real, that they are the mom, and giving them that, I don't know, that feeling, of being mom.
That respect and the title that they genuinely
have.
Yes.
That's theirs.
Yes.
The hospital was the most confusing part to me of how to support, because you don't want to come off as coercive in any sort of way, but you want to be there for any of their needs, as simple as like, can I get you a coffee? Can I buy you lunch? Can I do this? But you have to be careful about those things too. As if you're self-matched with an expectant mama, that can be a little bit more difficult to navigate, because you don't really have an agency necessarily guiding you in that. Or if you have an agency, then always lean on them of what to do, like we said before. But that can be a difficult time how do you support birth mom?
Yeah.
And you just nailed it, giving them the space to lead, giving them the space to lead that relationship, specifically in the hospital there.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the baby's now home, because this is very important. In my opinion.
Yes.
Because what you wrote in your profile book, what you told the agency, what you discussed with birth mama, what your openness was going to be, what you promised them that you were going to offer them in sense of a relationship or pictures or whatever, please do that.
Yes.
Don't not do that. Now, we know life happens, and as life goes on and years go on, your relationship may have changed, and that area might become a little bit more just like blurred, where pictures are all the time and visits are kind of, you've come up with your own routine. But especially in that first year, that second year, those early moments, send pictures. And listen, we have phones now. Like, you can text all the time. So
text, email, even if it's through an agency, because it's semi-open. If you said you were going to send pictures at 3 months, send the pictures at 3 months. If you said that you would allow them a visit at 1 year, follow through with the visit.
And don't wait for them to reach out to you. I got to say that, because they expect, birth moms usually won't, I don't feel, not usually, but they may find it more difficult to be the one to step in and say, hey, remember the visit? So be the one to initiate that, and to say, hey, listen, let's schedule a visit. Let's do this, because they sometimes birth moms on their side, from stories we've heard, is they don't want to feel intrusive into the family,
or like damage any sort of, even if it's a small relationship, they don't want to push to the point to where they lose that.
So just keep your word.
And it's not on the agency or the consultant. Like, you made these agreements, but oftentimes they are not going to be reminding you, hey,
Nope.
you didn't send in your 6-month update. They're just, if they get them, they'll pass them on. And if they don't, they don't. So you really do need to take it onto yourself to do what you said you were going to do. I think as human beings, we all love
Correct.
people that do what they say and say what they do. And so I think we should always be striving to do that, especially in an adoption relationship.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And that's a huge way to support that birth mom, to let her know that you are still there, that they still have access to their child, that they can still even just know what they look like as they grow, if that's the, amount of contact that you've agreed to. But I think being open to seeing where it all leads is a way to support them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, because like I shared in my story, whatever episode it was, when we were in the hospital and my oldest daughter's birth mom had those fears and had those worries that we weren't who we said we were and we weren't going to do what we said we were going to do. And thankfully, we had the opportunity to reaffirm her in that. But I can only imagine if we reaffirmed her and then reaffirmed her and then we didn't. Like, and we didn't do what we had reaffirmed and reaffirmed. Like, that's something that I would have to live with.
I know.
But also that's damaging to my daughter in a relationship that I promised to uphold and to keep healthy and alive for the sake of, listen, this is all for our children.
Yes.
This is not for, yes, we love expectant mamas, and they're so important. But birth mamas and adoptive parents are doing this for the children, right? We're doing this so that the child has the ability of relationship with both sides. So,
right. Yeah. And I think that it can feel when you're insecure and when you're scared or doubtful, it can feel like a protective measure to not allow the birth mom into your life.
Right.
But honestly, knowing adult adoptees, it has never worked out in the favor of the adoptive family to put up walls to preserve or enhance a relationship with their child. It never works. So if you really want to love your child well and help your relationship with your child be strengthened, lean into the birth parent. If you have that opportunity. Of course, we always have to give the disclaimers of like, sometimes it's not possible.
Sometimes it's not possible.
But if you have that ability, don't let it end on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times in supporting birth moms is, just to kind of maybe word what you said in a different way, is being confident in your position in your child's life.
Yes.
Like if you're confident in your role and who you are and how you love and their spot in your spot in their life and their spot in your life, you will love them with open arms and you won't have that fear, I guess. It reminds me of the book that we read, To Have and Not to Hold, that we did with the book club. It's that adoptive mom was so confident in her love for her child and her child's love for her and the place they were in each other's lives that there was no fear in her to reach out and to share whatever she needed to share about her life, her child's life, and to open it up to say, hey, you're welcome in this. It was a long journey to get there if you read that story. But I think that is so important for me. That still rings true after reading the book.
Well, and even in You Should Be Grateful by Angela Turner, we read that as well, Tucker, in our book club. And she talks about how her mom's support of finding her biological family only strengthened their relationship, and how her mom had those doubts and fears and insecurities, but how she never placed those on her and made her kind of bear that weight. She kind of kept them to herself, and how that helped her to love and it deepened her relationship with her mom. And I think it's just so important. Because I think our human nature is to put up walls and protect. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be favorable for anybody.
I mean, right. And I think there are situations, you did say this, where there may need to be a little bit of that protection. Like, don't just keep an open relationship for the sake of saying you have an open relationship. If things aren't healthy for either side, or there does need to be somewhat of a
conflict or
a shift,
abuse, or
or whatever it is that would be unhealthy.
Of course, use common sense.
That's what I'm trying to say. Use common sense. But I don't want to say, hey, just for the sake of open adoption, be sure to do it. Well, because there could be some other variables that come into play in those relationships.
I can't help, though, as I'm sitting here thinking, too, like, what about people outside of adoptive families that are trying to support birth moms? I feel like we are living in a age where women are feeling a little bit more empowered to be able to share that part of their story with people. So let's say you have a family member that's a birth mom, or a neighbor or a friend who has placed a child. I think there are ways that you can support them as well.
Yeah.
Like if it's newly happened, I would say support them. Bring them a meal, just as though, even if they, like you would bring a new mom a meal, bring them a meal. Ask them, how you can
check
help.
in on them.
Check in on them. Point them to resources. There are so many resources now, and encourage them to seek community.
And be a friend. Honestly, just be a friend.
Mm-hmm.
When that is a whole thing for a mama to carry, to be healing after a pregnancy, to be healing after delivery, and then to have those early months by yourself carrying that. If you know somebody like that,
right.
Gosh, that's good advice. Yeah. That is, because because if, like we've learned, the more we're in this adoption space, the more we talk about finding love, the more we talk about our stories being adoptive parents, you realize there are so many people who are connected in a variety of different ways. I mean, I remember the first birth mom opening night dinner we did. It was our second birth mom dinner. It was our second birth mom vacation.
Yes.
It was our first opening night dinner that we did. And when we were there, we were setting up, and one of the Disney staff was there helping us. They're like, so what is this? And we explained, this is a birth mom trip. It's a birth mom dinner. We're doing this. And she's like, what do you mean, what's a birth mom? And we're like, like a woman who's placed a child for adoption. And she said, well, I'm a birth mom. And we're like, what out the front door? Yeah. We're like, what? And she's like, yeah. And then she got tearful, and she shared part of her story with us. And it was just like a cool moment to say, oh my gosh, like,
you never know.
We could not have orchestrated that. But I love, but my point is, there's so many more people in our lives who are connected in that way. So just to be aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And encouraging community, I think, just circling back to that, about how we all need somebody who understands. So as much as we can look in their eyes and hold their hand and listen to their stories, there's something so powerful about finding someone who has walked through what you've walked through.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several places that women can find community, but a Funding Love Vacation is a really, really awesome one. I think it's a great starting point even for women that are hesitant, because it's not a place where we ask these women to sit down and sit in a circle and share their heavy stories right off the bat. We know that happens eventually, inevitably, as they're standing in line for a ride or they're sitting around at a dinner table. But it's a place where they can just come fully who they are. And there's no elephants in the room. There's no secrets to tell about that part of their story, because they know that every woman there has that part of their story as well. Yeah. So I feel like our Funding Love Vacations are really a unique experience and opportunity for these women to find not only community, but healing and hope.
Yeah. No, and it's a very, I guess, expectant place. Like, you know what I mean? You don't need to come. There's no strings attached. None of that.
Right.
Nothing's expected of you except for to come and have a good time and be pampered and loved and know that you're worthy.
Worthy. I'm wearing actually a shirt that is created by one of the birth moms that attended our birth mom vacation.
22, right?
Mm-hmm. And she creates these shirts because she wants birth moms and women, specifically women, to feel worthy of their stories and worthy of love and acceptance. And I love that. So I love that you just use that word.
Yeah, I mean, perfect shirt for this episode. But, to tie this back into like Funding Love and what we do and our mission there for birth moms and just our mission as an organization is, I think of like when I joined Funding Love and my like desire to kind of want to be involved in this community more was my experience navigating that open relationship and that love with my daughter's birth mom, my oldest daughter's birth mom. It was, you see so many gaps there for her, and you see the realness of that decision. You feel like, you feel all of it. You feel the love you have for your shared child, and you feel the pain that she's experiencing, and then you see there's nothing really there for her. You know what I mean? I mean, because support from adoption agencies can only go so long. And a birth mom has to be the one really to seek that out. And it's so hard in those raw moments, those first years, to be the one to do that. So to have a space like Funding Love to feel so like, I don't know, like non-threatening, and an easy way to find community. So if you know a birth mom, encourage her to apply. If you know a birth mom who is seeking community, who you know their story and just wants to be a part of the birth mom community and feel loved and worthy, and you know they deserve it because they do, encourage them to apply. Because there is a place and a home for them here amongst us. And we can't send everybody, which is so hard. We don't like to say that. But we can't send everybody, but we're working hard. And with the support of our donors and even our listeners here and you guys who are supporting us this way, every dollar counts, every donation, every way that you support us does count. And hopefully will afford us to send even more birth moms and more birth moms and more birth moms, because we are truly only limited by our resources. So the more support we have, the more dollars that we bring in, truly it just goes right back to these families and these women.
And I think talking about supporting Funding Love, what we do is really unique also in the fact that it's not birth moms supporting birth moms. On our last vacation, when we talked to the women that attended our vacation, we had a few of them say, this is just so crazy because the only other retreats I've been to and organizations that have supported me are run by birth moms. And this is run by adoptive moms and an adoptee and
also
donors
people not even
that
connected to the adoption.
that have no connection to adoption are supporting birth moms. And I think that while it's really kind of sad that birth moms have had to support birth moms, I think it's time for people like us, for people that are outside of their community, to step up and say, you are worthy of support. You are worthy of being seen and loved and known. And I think this is a unique opportunity for you if you're sitting at home watching this on YouTube, or you're in your car listening on a podcast and you're thinking, well, I haven't adopted a child. My child doesn't have a birth mom. I don't know anybody that has placed a child with an adoptive family. I think it's a really unique opportunity for you to step into a place of generous giving, to help donate to a nonprofit that is doing work that no one else is doing. And you are able to support women that aren't having to support themselves.
Yeah. It is true, because what we do at Funding Love really is kind of like a niche. Yeah. And I think that is really cool to be a part of, and really cool to see that impact these women in ways that are different than the other birth mom retreats they've been on. And not to say there's not a place for those, because there is for those who need it and seek those out and need that sort of thing. But this is different in a way of, come as you are. Don't give us a thing. Just enjoy. Create that community amongst women who have that shared experience. And that's it. And that's it. And hopefully that those friendships and those communities will be a lasting impact. And it's cool because a lot of them do stay connected. A lot of them stay connected. And we've made ways for them to be able to stay connected after the trip. Not even just those you've traveled with, but moms who've traveled on trips before. So now the whole Funding Love birth mom community is kind of staying connected. So I think that is so cool. And it's because donors like you. It really is. It's because donors like you. And we never want these episodes or anything we do to feel like we're pushing, but we really are just so grateful, because we couldn't really be sitting here and we couldn't be doing what we do and serving and like kind of leaning into our passions without the support of generous people. It really does take a village. It takes everybody believing in the same mission, and we're so thankful. Yeah, and it's just a never-ending thing. So it's a constant need, but we're just so grateful.
So our next birth mom vacation is going to be traveling this September. We would love for you to follow along. And if you have a heart, if you're sitting here listening and you say, I want to donate directly to the birth mom vacation, the birth mom program, then you can do that on our website. You can go to fundinglove.com/donate. And when you choose your donation, whether it's a one-time donation or a recurring donation, you can actually choose a specific purpose. And so just click that purpose box, scroll scroll down to Birth Mom Vacations, and you can give directly to that. And all of those donors will go directly to Birth Mom Support.
I will. Yeah. Yep. So what a wrap up on this. And I do love where I feel like sometimes what we say here in this episode we've already spoken to, but I love that we've kind of given a whole episode to saying that this is so important.
It is.
Such an important part of the adoption journey for prospective adoptive parents. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think that says it's important.
Right.
At least in our journey and in our experience and talking to so many birth moms that we have and being adoptive mamas, I think it's important.
Yes.
So
yes.
We are so grateful y'all tuned into episode 6. Keep tuning in. We have a few more episodes of this season, and so we're so thankful. We'll see y'all next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Funding Love podcast. Funding Love is a crowd-funded nonprofit, which means that people like you can help make a lasting impact in the lives of adoptive families and birth moms. Visit our website at fundinglove.com today to give, visit our swag shop, or purchase tickets to our upcoming fundraising gala, A Night of Dreams. When you partner with us, you are funding love.